Here's a little treat for your Revolver guys. I just picked this up a few days ago, and I've been just fondling it, playing with it, admiring it, ever since I got it. You Revolver guys should know that this is a Smith Wesson Model 29 in 44 Magnum. This is the Dash 2 version. No, excuse me. Dash 3 version. So if you know much about the Model 29 and its various versions, this one began manufacturing in 1982, I believe. Coincidentally, the same year that the Glock was introduced. And this is not particularly a collectible Model 29. Because it is the Dash 3, which caused a lot of controversy, because between the Dash 2, which was produced for numerous years before this one, which happens to be the one that Clint Eastwood carried in all the Dirty Harry movies, made this gun famous, or made the Dash 2 famous, and all the Model 29s hence going forward. The Dash 3s, they started producing just large volumes of them. So there were some cost-cutting measures that went into play in producing the Dash 3. Some of the more controversial ones was the barrel was no longer pinned, and also these are snap caps, and there was no longer a recessed cylinder. They weren't countersunk so that the rim of the cartridge sat flush with the cylinder. Which, is it a huge deal? I don't know. I'm not a real revolver guy. This is only my second revolver that I've ever owned. And in fact, the only revolver I have right now in my inventory. I've owned previously a Dan Wesson 357 Magnum, also in 6-inch, very much like this one. It was a blued gun, 6-inch barrel, wood grips like this. The Dan Wesson, I believe it was a Model 15. I don't quite recall. But Dan Wesson had this cool design where you bought their gun and it came like a kit. It came with multiple length barrels. You got the tool to take the barrel off, to put a little 2-inch barrel or a 6-inch barrel on it, depending on what you're using it for. So that was pretty cool, but traded that in for another gun a couple years back. So got the Revolver itch again. I had to get one, and I thought, what better to get than a Model 29. So I looked long and hard, tried to find a good deal on it, and ended up talking to this guy that I've dealt with before, and he wanted to trade, and I threw some money in, along with one of my Glocks. I came out with this one, which I thought it was a good deal for me. This particular model, Dash 3, my version of the Dash 3, I believe it was built in the early production, 82, 83, something like that. I'm not really sure. I got to call up Smith & Wesson and ask them about the serial number. It's really clean from what I can tell. The previous owner told me that he shot about 40 rounds, and he's the second owner, and the first owner shot about 100 rounds. Adjustable sights, and blade front sight with a orange dot, Y spur hammer. This one, the Dash 3, has the hammer mounted firing pin, and obviously it's got the firing pin block in there so that it would only make contact with the primer when the trigger is pulled, so you can safely carry this with all cylinders full. This is the original wood grip from Smith & Wesson. A lot of people think it's quite beefy. I think it's good size, and I like the way it feels. I haven't shot it yet. Looking forward to shoot it maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday. As far as the condition goes, it's really clean. The timing seems to be perfect. There's some wear in all the places where you would expect it. Some wear around the cylinder. I mean, obviously there's the ring. There's some wear around the muzzle, but overall it just looks to be in really good condition. And I think the bluing is still very beautiful. I'd probably put this in the high 90s as far as the condition the bluing goes. Case hardened hammer and trigger, pretty standard. Oh, the other thing about the 29-3 is that it has the 6-inch barrel, whereas most of the other ones have the 6.5-inch barrel. I don't really know that much about them besides the research that I've done so far. You know, since looking at this particular pistol, and also while researching on which one I should get. But you can get a 29-3 for, you know, for a decent price. You know, if you try to get an earlier version or one of the newer ones. Right now, the newest model you can get is the -10, I believe. It's come so far, and obviously this is an old one, so it doesn't have the lock. The -10 will have an integral lock that Smith has put in. But you can get this one for, I don't know, maybe $500, $600, $700, something like that. Maybe even less if you find somebody who's really desperate to get rid of it, or if it's not in real good condition. A new one, man, a new one goes for significantly more than that. Or if you found a collectible one, you know, maybe it was like an 8.5-inch -2 or something like that, they go for a little bit more. But this is gonna be a woods gun for me. I got a cool little holster that I've had. Let's see if I can grab it. I've had this Hunter 1100 series revolver holster that I used to use with my my Dan Wesson. It's a size 14, which is made for a smaller gun than this. I believe it's made for a Model 28 and 357 Magnum. So I was worried that maybe this one wouldn't fit. I have to get a new holster, but it actually fits quite well. It looks pretty cool too, I think. You know, it's got some scratches, got some wear on the holster, but you know, slip that into a belt. Maybe carry it, you know, on a chest rig or something like that when you're hiking through the woods. This is a little bit big for what people would consider a woods gun, you know, for bear protection. People like to carry like 3-inch barrels for something like that, but you know, I figured this would be a good. If I'm only gonna have one 44, I want to get something that I can shoot some long distance targets with, and also one that I can shoot at the range and you know, mitigate a fair amount of the recoil with a heavier gun. So I'm really excited about this one. Hopefully I'm going to shoot it this week, and if I do, I'll be sure to make some videos. And with 44 Magnum ammo being so expensive, well, the other nice thing about this gun is that the owner threw in a box of MagTech 44 mags. I believe these are fairly light for what they are. This is the let's see, the SJSP soft point, semi-jacketed soft point, and it comes in at 1178 feet per second with 739 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. So that's, I mean, that's pretty stout for a pistol round goes, but I believe that the 44 Magnum can be loaded up to a much higher load. But I mean, this was wherever he got it from, $36.99. So you know, ammo's getting expensive for or has been for the 44 Magnum. So I'm gonna start looking into reloading 44 Magnum as well. If I decide I want to shoot this, you know, more than my other pistols. And I'm also going to be probably casting some of my own bullets for this. There's going to be a fair amount of savings too, and you know, being that it's a revolver, it's not going to be that picky with bullet shape, and it's not going to have any issues with, you know, obviously load or ejecting, or won't have those kinds of failures. Although at some of these higher speeds, may have to worry about doing gas checks. So it'll be an interesting path to figure out a good load for the 44 Magnum through this 29-3. If you guys don't know about, for some of you that don't know about the 44 Magnum when it comes to the cartridge goes, I'll give you some comparison in sizes. So that's the 44 Magnum. The bullet is actually .43, right around .43 caliber, 0.43 of an inch, give or take a hundredth of an inch. So it's not quite at 44 compared to a 45. You can see that it's significantly longer, and it's a rimmed cartridge instead of an automatic cartridge. Let's compare that to a 40 cal. Put on this side. That's a 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, and then compare that to a 10 millimeter. Now I will put this in order of muzzle energy, in that order: 40, 45, 10 millimeter, and now 44 Magnum. There you go. Give you guys a quick peek at my new to me Model 29, Smith & Wesson Model 29, 6-inch in blue steel. Thanks for watching.